And joining me now from Landstuhl, Germany, is Congressman Dan Kildee. He has just met with Amir Hekmati and the military hospital there for the first time since he was freed. Congressman, tell us, how is he?
Well, he seems really great. Obviously, he's been through an incredible ordeal, and you'd expect him to be somewhat exhausted, 4.5 years, and then the last few days. But, you know, it's the first time I've met him. This is a young man I feel I've gotten to know over these years, but he's great, and I think he's going to be fine. It'll take a bit to readjust, but he's got a great family, and they're here with him, his sisters and his brother-in-law, and I know he's anxious to get home to his parents and the rest of the family. But you know what? Amir Hekmati's a strong man, and he's going to be fine. I was just so happy to be able to put my arms around him and give him a big hug.
And I know you're not a doctor, and he still has to be evaluated, but do you have any sense from him as to his medical condition? Is he going to be able to come home soon?
Well, that's yet to be determined, and that'll be, you know, a combination of the family, his own assessment, and what the medical folks say here. You know, it'll take at least a couple of days, I think, just to kind of get his feet underneath him, but that's just my judgment. It's up to him when he wants to come home. And again, it's been a horrific ordeal, so it's understandable that it might not be immediate, but hopefully it won't be long.
Do you know anything about the conditions under which he was held in Evin prison? Was he in isolation? What about nutrition? Wasn't there a period where he was on a starvation diet?
Right. So at times he was in solitary confinement. There was a point in time when he was being held in a 1 meter by 1 meter cell. He did a couple of times launch hunger strikes to try to call attention to his case, but hopefully he's through that now. And you know, obviously being back with his family is really gratifying for everybody, and hopefully he'll move on.
And we heard of a dramatic moment on the tarmac when the Iranians were not going to let his mother and sister board that plane, and Secretary Kerry, according to Wendy Sherman, had to eventually intervene and make some calls. It sounded like right out of Argo. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, of course, that was not me. That was Jason's family, but it was the whole thing was really high drama. From the time that we first heard that they were being released until for us, the next morning when they actually took off. It was a combination of jubilation and a whole lot of anxiety until they cleared Iranian airspace, and honestly, that's when we began to celebrate.
And how much did the White House tell you about the secret negotiations these past 14 months?
Well, I was actually very much aware that there had been a separate track, only because I had pressed them so much and insisted on, you know, and I didn't need to insist, but insisted on these negotiations taking place. I was involved in my own effort as well, you know, meeting with Iranian leaders, meeting with the Swiss and others. The fact that we had the nuclear negotiations obviously is what opened the door for this separate track, and I'm really pleased that it worked out the way it did. But we had some sense that things were going the way they ultimately unfolded, and really happy that it did.
Congressman Dan Kildee, thanks very much. I know you're feeling a great deal of joy today. Thanks, and please pass on
it's a great day.
Congratulations to Sarah and her husband, Remy, whom we've gotten to know through this long ordeal.